All right, guys, happy Friday to you, wherever you are. We're tracking Hurricane Beryl. That is still a very strong storm that will not just impact potentially parts of Texas, but I think it's going to bring some much-needed rain into some areas where we could really use the rain, especially across the southeast into parts of the Midwest. It's just been dry here, guys, so that's the good news. Is I guess if there's a silver lining to it, maybe that's it. But we're still looking at a very strong storm through today and into Saturday. There is some weakening happening, but the storm right now is encountering some land here. That is creating some friction with the storm and weakening it a little bit. But check this out. This is one of the forecast models. As it moves back out into the Gulf, the forecast is for it to strengthen back to a hurricane. And look at this. As it moves close to Texas, this right here is the Texas-Mexico border. You got Brownsville in this area. Look at this. The forecast is for this to tighten back up. And if you look closely, you see these whites? I mean, those brighter whites there, that's hurricane force winds. So we strengthen back to a hurricane. At least that's the forecast. And it could get really strong. You're starting to see some pinks and reds showing up here. That's 100-plus mile per hour winds. So this could become a very strong hurricane quickly, once again, as it approaches the Texas coast with some favorable atmospheric conditions. We're also looking at a very warm Gulf of Mexico still here as we move through early July. Most of the models in agreement that this thing is coming north here into Texas and then taking that moisture off to the northeast once it goes through. That's the GEFS from last night, the ensembles. This is the European. Look at this, guys. It's very similar now. You know, a couple days ago, there was a lot of disagreement. We're starting to see that consensus grow. What I don't like is the slowing of the forward motion here as it gets into Texas. Eventually, it does get picked up and pulled to the north and east, and that will bring some of that moisture to the north and east as well. This is a look at precipitable water. I like to look at this more so than a lot of other things because this shows a measure of the moisture if you were to take it from the ground level to the top of the atmosphere and just squeeze it all out. So it's a very good measure of where the moisture is. You can see it with Beryl moving ashore, but I want to point your attention here for just a moment as we sort of shift what we're talking about. You're going to bring in a lot of Atlantic moisture and Gulf moisture on the right side of Beryl, plus we're also changing the weather pattern up. What does that mean? Well, look, we're going to bring a lot of moisture here into the southeast. I think rain chances start to go up, and that will definitely help with their drought conditions. The drought monitor that was released on the 3rd, clearly showing a lot of dry conditions here from the mid-Atlantic all the way into the southeast. Parts of Texas and the plains are dry too, so maybe too much moisture. We're going to probably see some flooding out of this. Tornadoes possible with a landfalling hurricane. So not all good, but there is some, maybe, I guess, some light at the end of the tunnel with this, at least a silver lining, so to speak. Severe weather on the table today from Michigan over toward parts of New York, but the strongest storms look like they're going to fire here. Eastern Kentucky, Southwest Virginia, West Virginia, down into parts of Tennessee and North Carolina too, and as far south as Georgia, I think, especially as we head into the afternoon. Kind of looking ahead to tomorrow, our threat really now shifting further west with our next system that will be moving here. So Nebraska, Kansas, heads up for you guys. And then day 3, we start to see some influences of Beryl here across South Texas with, again, that landfalling hurricane. You get that wind shear with a change of wind direction with height with that tight, compact low. So tornadoes certainly a risk and, of course, damaging winds. But not related up here into parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. You'll want to watch out for these storms. Let's time some of this out. As we move through this afternoon, Friday afternoon, these storms, again, right in this area will start to get strong. We've got a lot of wind shear here, so that could lead to some strong damaging winds, some hail. Tornado risk is pretty low. It's not completely zero, but either way, I think the biggest risk would be hail and damaging winds. And all of that starts to calm down as we move through the night. Showers moving into the northeast. That's where the bulk of the rain will move as we head into early Saturday morning. Kind of quiet across the southeast once again, but look at the showers starting to pop up here. Along the coastal plain of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, maybe some much-needed rain falling here. And then we've got our next round of storms moving through Iowa, parts of Wisconsin, too, as we move into Saturday evening into early Sunday morning. Across the central U.S., quite a bit of moisture here, too, so we will see some afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Some of those could pulse up and get strong. But again, the biggest threat for severe weather, I think, in this region would be on Saturday, right in here as we really develop these storms heading to Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. And then as we get into, early Sunday morning, we may potentially start to see some impacts from Beryl here along the Texas coast as that moisture starts to move in. Across the west, we've been dealing with monsoon here. That really is that seasonal wind that brings in the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, also the Gulf of California. We're drying out, though, here, and it is hot, record heat across the west. fact, look at these temperatures. This would be heading into the afternoon today. Highs could top 120 in some areas today, and it could get even hotter over the next couple of days. Look at this. This is heading in now into Sunday. 121 showing up here across southern parts of California. Death Valley could be, we could see all-time record highs in some of these areas, and parts of the Central Valley here into California could push 120 for a couple of days. So a wild setup. And not only that, look at eastern Washington, even parts of Oregon, into the 100s. This is hot weather as our heat dome now has really established here across the west, and that heat also expands east into parts of New Mexico. And look, as you head into next week, even into Monday and Tuesday, not a lot of relief on the way. So get ready for some hot weather across the west. A quick look at your moisture if you're tracking rain across the country before I go today. Let's speed this up just a little bit. We've talked about the weekend. There comes, again, the potential forecast for Beryl here. And notice how our shower coverage, again, increasing across the southeast as we get that moisture moving in. It'll be tough to time out exactly where they'll be. I think these showers will be scattered, but the moisture will be around. So at least you've got that going for you. And then, look, some of that moisture, what's left over of Beryl heading into next week, will likely move into this area, bringing more rain. I just hope it's not too much of a good thing. So I'll be tracking it. If you like this kind of stuff, I hope you'll subscribe. I'm on the road. I try to do these at least once a day when I can. But, yeah, thanks for subscribing, everybody. And if you'd like to subscribe, I hope you will. And come back. I'll catch you next time.